Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for April 30th, May 1st, 2020. Well, probably pretty nice to see the backside of April 2020. It's been an intense month. And I think we're feeling that right now. The moon has shifted over into Leo. And so that means it just made a square with Saturn and with Uranus. And then tomorrow we'll make a square with Mars in Aquarius. It's interesting because we haven't had a whole bunch of fixed energy, which is these signs, Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus and Scorpio. And so we're feeling this fixed energy. And it's interesting how it's bringing actually almost a more disconcerting feeling. The fixed signs are about stability as far as they're really good at completing projects, and they have a kind of a more solid kind of, it's about completions and finishing. And so, but it feels like this fixed energy of the sun and Uranus and Mercury now in Taurus is actually bringing more uncertainty. Because we're at that place, right, where we're trying to move out of the quarantine, out of the lockdown. People are very traumatized. It's like the gates are open, but the Stockholm syndrome is keeping people from feeling like they can really get back to normal life. We are mired in censorship, delusion, and lies, becoming more and more clear. There's a huge kind of last push of the dark control energies, kind of clamping down for their last kind of hurrah. And it's just this building intensity because tomorrow Mercury and Uranus come into their exact conjunction. And it feels like Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So we've got a whole bunch of Gemini on the table, right? Because we've got Venus and Gemini getting ready to take a retrograde. We've got the North Node moving over into Gemini. And so Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, Mercury's feeling a lot of pressure right now. I think like Mercury is about Mercury's like the messenger, our little brain, and how we get our little brain to make sense of what's going on in the wider whole. And so Mercury-Uranus can be very beautiful connection because Uranus kind of represents our higher self, our higher mind, higher wisdom, vibrational frequencies, future and ancient wisdom. And so our lower brain, our little brain, and our higher brain kind of working together can be really great. And in Taurus, there's this energy of like, okay, let's land on Earth. Let's get grounded. Let's figure out who we are, what we're doing. But Uranus is anything but grounded in that way. It's and Uranus and Taurus is demanding that we find a new form of stability. So this is almost, it's like Mercury and Taurus, we're trying to find some sort of something to grab onto as we transition back to life. And then there's this energy of like, oh no, there's nothing stable here for you. Like, and this is, it looks to me, the picture is like this, we're just like standing on the precipice. And it's like one more human comes on board with the truth and we tumble over the edge, right? I mean, there's like a myriad of bombs out there of like hidden landmines around energies that could bring forward a avalanche of truth into our life. And which one's going to go off first? Like what's going to unravel? What's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back? And humanity is like standing there on the edge, kind of being like, and maybe that's part of this fixed energy, because fixed signs aren't that great at making changes. Like they get into a routine and they kind of need to like, it's like big transitions can be difficult. And maybe that's what's going on because Uranus in Taurus, it's like this higher frequency vibration trying to come to the earth. And we are on this precipice of great change. The great change is already happening energetically. It has been for quite a while, right? But it's not landing home in our life. This is Uranus and Taurus. It's like, okay, this is a spiritual evolution, right? It's not about whether you can go shopping right now. even though that's what's, I mean, that's how it's manifesting in a lot of people's lives, right? But it's like if you step out that door to go shopping, you got to face all of the lies. And so people want to stay inside, you know? And it's like the lies and the delusions are encroaching in so intensely right now. And there's nowhere for humanity to go besides into more truth. And when you first open up into like, it's kind of that coming to the end of the road feeling, and you open up to like, okay, I'm going to just try to like get my little brain to make some sense of what's going on. And at first, just brings masses of more confusion. And I think that's kind of where we're at, where humanity is just like, oh no, compartmentalize. Get me something regular. Get me the regular people, the regular news. Get me something to make me feel like it's going to be okay. And it's not going to be okay. Our old paradigm is not okay. It's not serving us. There's dark, dark agendas right in front of our face playing out, right? So these souls that are aware, that have the consciousness, that are feeling the collective, are feeling this, trepidation right now of being on the edge of great discoveries. Except for that, the great discovery at first is very disconcerting, right? Like that the earth isn't flat, say. That's going to rock your world. If it, and like the sun, the earth isn't at the center of the solar system, right? Like that's going to change your whole reality. And that's where we're at right now. We're at this fundamental, profound, life-changing truths that are right there, but humanity can't take the leap, right? And we've got like massive amounts of resources going into programming on multiple levels and mind control on multiple levels to keep this from happening. And yet nothing can stop it. But we're just in this really weird place of like standing at the edge, knowing there's nowhere else to go. The feeling of being pushed into nothing. And that's where you guys come in because you've been here. We've been talking about this. You've been on the precipice of nothing. You've been nothing. You've gone through your ego death. That's what these last nightmare few years have been about for you. Pretty much it started for these souls around 2011, right? It's like you started into this breakdown into your true spiritual self. And so it's like, yes, humanity's on the precipice, but we're the ones leading the way. And maybe that's the key to this whole thing. The key to really using this Mercury-Uranus conjunction tomorrow. It's like, what are we waiting for? And it goes back to those loyalty contracts, right? And on the edge of the precipice, you see trauma, you see fear, you see all the wrong and bad things that could happen, right? And yet until we let go of that sinking ship, we can't be caught by the new energies. And that's where you come in. You are a warrior on the edge of spiritual awakening. That's why you've gone through all you've gone through. And we've had these great dabblings into higher frequency vibrations, but it seems like there's this huge bloom in the control energies right now, like their last hurrah. And we have to use that to our advantage. We have to use everything to our advantage right now. And put on your spacesuit, It's funny because that's all like the news just keeps showing us these people in hazmat suits. And it's like, wait a minute. And bodies and trucks of bodies and mass graves. And it's like, this story doesn't add up, you guys. It does not add up. And this is the disconcerting place that humanity's at right now. You're going to stick your head in the sand and be an ostrich, fine. But you're going to get composted, right? Like your soul's out of here and you're a robot. You know what I mean? Like we're just at this end of the road place, But okay, so we've got hazmat suits. The death rate, the mortality rate is less than 0.1%, less than the flu. Okay, so hazmat suits, like what's going on here, and dark, nefarious things, but they've got to come to the surface. And you, on some level, have already known because you've been targeted by these energies over lifetimes. So it's like, and that it's just important for you to, it's almost like that whole thing of like everything right now, whether it's positive, negative, dark agenda, light agenda, is working for one thing. in this weird parallel. It's almost like I feel like we've been stuck in that birth canal, the 4D place where everything is reflected back to us, and we're creating our reality in the moment. And like, so our greatest fears are appearing before our eyes, like the Bogart in Harry Potter. And now these latest energetic attack feels to be like pulling us back to 3D, right? Like, oh no, humanity, you're not going anywhere, right? We own you. And this is where you have to be like, no, I'm sovereign. I'm sovereign, and I've had a taste of the energies outside. So you're standing on the precipice right now with the collective, feeling everything they're feeling, except you're way beyond that. So there's a huge bloom of our loyalty contracts, of like what has kept us staying behind in the lower frequencies. Huge bloom right now. So just know that's like a big stack of lifetimes of contracts where you've been like, I'll wait for you. It might take 1,000 more lifetimes, but that's fine. And it's just like, we can't do it. If we wait, we're giving up our soul. We're giving up our spiritual autonomy. We're giving up everything we came here for. And it's at that time where it's like, we cannot do the soul saving mission anymore. Soul saving mission was appropriate, right? Now, these souls need to come together in their consciousness and create this, like, put their energy not towards the collective traumas and fear and unknown and uncertainty that's going on right now. But these soul groups have got to go to that higher octave and come together there in the higher web. Like, so basically the dark agenda ultimately is trying to get us all a part of a lower matrix, a technological system, right? So artificial intelligence is in control of our autonomy. This is happening from the inside out. It's not like, oh, robots are going to come and take over our world. No, they're trying to make you into a robot. This is being shown to us, right? Like microchip vaccinations, that's even just scratching the surface of what they're trying to do to us right now and what they've been trying to do for a very long time. And so there's also, but what they're trying to prevent is the higher grid, which isn't even a grid, it's an organic Christ consciousness connection of souls, right? And they're trying to get people sucked into the lower psychological AI agenda before they can go into the spiritual ascension. And so that's where you come in. And it's not easy right now because, like I said, I'm feeling a huge bloom of attack of psychological, electromagnetic control weapons going on. And that's real, right? Once you admit it's real, you can be like, oh, okay, that's happening. I still have my autonomy. I still have my permission right here, right now, to go to the garden and find my friends, because that's what I came here for, and let humanity have its chaos and trauma. Just let it have it. Let it go be robots if they want to. You cannot go down there and get them anymore. That is over. You have to go to the top of the mountain. That's what you came for. And then we come back to this thing of like, oh, it feels really good there, right? So this next 2 days of this Mercury conjunct Uranus, it's like, make that rainbow bridge, be that rainbow bridge from the lower mind to the higher mind, and know that the lower mind, your day-to-day thoughts, is highly mechanically controlled right now, trying to be, right? And so you got to just be like, okay, that's there, but that's not where I'm putting my attention, right? Because what's really happening is spiritual revelation, a connection back between the right and left brain, a connection back to our soul groups, to our true potential. And that, when you're there, when you allow yourself to feel good. And maybe this wave of energetic attack is like our opportunity to like completely step through the threshold, completely release those lower responsibility, loyalty contracts, and claim your place in the sun, right? Claim your right for your spiritual evolution. It's beyond we're at this place where we've got to see this bigger perspective. We've lived again and again and again in this human evolution, going up against the same monster of dark agendas. We're trying to set, really the battleground is ultimately kind of happening in the US right now. The US, what's trying to happen in the US is trying to set the rest of the world free. But see, we don't even see the bigger picture that removing the AI principle from Earth is actually setting a whole bunch of other planets and other dimensional frequencies, other out there in the omniverse free too. This is a huge battle. You came here to be on the front line. And when you're winning, you feel good. When you have autonomy over your psychological moment to moment, to feel good, to feel hopeful. So part of the control energy in the ethers right now is like, you guys, you can never win against this monster. And that's where this bloom of just this past life stuff is just like on the table. I think it has to do with the South Node moving into Sagittarius. And I'll talk more about that in a video about the nodal shift. But it's like, you guys, you fought and lost every single battle. And who makes you think you're going to win this time, right? Like, give up. Just give up. Just give us your soul. Just be a part of the program, right? And it's like, you can never win against this monster, remember? And it's like, but really on an energetic level, true, alive, organic consciousness, that's you. That's what you came here. That's the true human energy and essence. That's way more powerful. These control energies are conceptual, and the organic consciousness has life force power. See, that's what's like how they're farming us, right? They want our life force. So you can see that this current situation is a direct attack on our life force. And then that brings me to this full moon in Scorpio that's coming up next Wednesday. And this is a huge boom. This is a breaking point, because we've got on the 5th is when Mercury and the Sun come back together. They were together during Saturn, Pluto in January, right? So Saturn and Pluto conjunction in January was kind of like this dark agenda was brewing under the surface, right? We didn't know yet what it really meant, but it was happening, being hidden from us. And so these coming back together is great realizations. That happens on Cinco de Mayo, 5/5. And 5/5 is also like loud and clear. Are you getting the messages? This is humanity's last wake-up call, right? And are you going to take it? Are you going to tumble over the edge? Or are you going to go ahead and succumb to the authoritarian dark agenda? Because it's just easier, right? And that's where I think this deep conflict of souls coming up, of the soul is coming up for these souls, because there have been lifetimes after lifetime where it's like, and you gave your life, right? Like, you gave your life for freedom. You gave your life to try to help humanity again and again, and you stood up for your rights. But then you died thinking like, I failed because I didn't accomplish my mission. But what if you succeeded, right? Like, what if this whole energy is about you succeeded, you planted seeds, you inspired people. They might have died, but like, that spiritual inspirations might have stayed with them for lifetimes. Now that they're willing to stand up to this authoritarian control, right? So like, you never failed, and you succeeded, you planted seeds, and we've already won. We've already won this war, right? But the dark energies right now are really wanting to get in there and keep you in a lower vibration. Why? Why is so much resources, billions of dollars going in to keep you in a lower vibration? Because you're that powerful. You are more powerful than billions of dollars of technological control. And that's the realization we've got to have in these soul groups. And that this is a way bigger project than we can't just look at it in this narrow construct of like having to sit back and watch humanity get bowled over. When you've dedicated everything in your heart and soul to this, So it's like that's a big thing of this Gemini energy, Mercury and Uranus, Mercury and the Sun, huge realizations. And those realizations are hard at first, then they free you, right? First you want to puke, then you're like, thank God I know this. so I can be set free, right? And that's where humanity's at. They don't want to look at the hard truths, and until we look at the hard truths, we're completely stuck. And so we're at this weird place in these soul groups of that life and death place in past lives where you gave your life for freedom. And now, was it worth it? Right? And this is the kind of this big trap, right? Because a big part of this whole darker agenda is to keep us. So they've shortened our lifespans, right? So it's really hard to come into your spiritual awareness in such a short lifespan. So it takes lifetime after lifetime. You come back and you have to start all over, figure out who you are. And then, of course, all this technological control. And, but like, before anything else, we're the I am consciousness. We're spiritual beings. We are spiritual. Like, we are spirit before anything else. So this whole play is a joke and a movie, and that's maybe, but it's in a way it's freeing, because it's like, oh yeah, no, this is a bloom of this old stuff where the soul conflict of like living a whole life, dedicating your big spiritual energy to this earth evolution, and then not having it get anywhere again and again. Deep, dark things coming up, which have got to be released, right? Because that shit's holding you down. If you jump off the cliff with that darkness, this failure, this I'm not good enough, like I've dedicated my whole self and it was never enough, and you jump off the cliff, it's like you're tied down with rocks in the river, right? But you're going surfing on the plasma, so you got to get that shit in order. And that's what this next week is about. So we're going to feel like incredible, powerful energy around realizations we don't want to look at personally and collectively right in our face. And that feeling of like, if I do look at these things, it's so spring as far as like in, right now going on in the Northern Hemisphere of like the rushing river, right? And it's like, it's just anything in its way is just going to get kind of bowled over, right? And it's interesting how the control energies are using that energy. Like, you can never win. We're stronger than you, right? But the force of consciousness and the buildup of this consciousness and this truth and the lies about to break that dam, whoa, that is just like, so powerful. And it's about us taking back this power, right? So we've got a whole dammed up river, and that's what they're using to make electricity and sending it through wires, right? And all that shit's a lie. We are the dam. We have electricity available to us in our very own body. And it's just a game changer. Our whole world has to change because free energy is right around the corner. Our whole financial system. This is what this is about. This is about what Uranus and Taurus ultimately is. It's just like, you guys, you cannot hide from the bigger, wider truth of who you are as consciousness and the technologies that have been hidden from you that are now being used to control your mind. And this is just this, so the Scorpio full moon feels like those floodgates are opening, right? Because Scorpio wants to know the truth. And that happens Wednesday, Thursday next week. And on the 7th, 8th. And so a couple days before that is that exact on 5/5, Cinco de Mayo, loud and clear, D5 avalanche coming in of truth, Mercury and the sun. And so this is a very crucial time that you can give yourself permission to make that leap into the surfing of the plasma, back to the garden, get connected with your soul group. Like, it's like the closer you get to that permission for freedom and those higher vibrations, we talked about how the more those energies are going to come in and try to pull you back down. They'll work through other people and they'll work through events. And, it's literally in the air right now, and it's like, okay, that means I'm really getting somewhere. And it's interesting how alone you feel right then. But then right on the other side of that is your soul group. You guys are all feeling the exact same way. And what would it be like to know palpably and feel this amazing group of souls, and you've all gone through these things, you know? So what brings a soul group together is similar experiences in past lives. Like, you guys have a pattern you kind of gotten stuck in because, you know, it all has to do with this greater, wider project you've been working on over eons, you know? And so it's like it's like this flick of a switch and leaping off the cliff and going from the rocks holding you down under the water to floating and surfing the plasma. And everything comes back to, do you deserve it? Right. So that's interesting because it ties back to these past life regrets and feelings of failure. Right. So it's like, yeah, no, so I'm a big like star being, but you know, I kind of messed up in that past life. And it's like, well, you didn't mess up though. You were planting seeds and you succeeded and you inspired people to stand up for truth now. And can we allow that? Like, it's weird. It's like there's just such this like pressure in these soul groups to like somehow find a solution and go out there and make it all better, right? And we got to step back and see, this is a huge, way bigger eons of project. And what if you've done what you can do? And now you got to step over to the new paradigm. Now it's not about the lower play. It's about you vibrationally coming into who you really are. That's what the stars are trying to say. The planets are trying to tell us this is what's happening. And this is this, you know, the sun just going over Uranus, now Mercury and Uranus together, this rearranging of our lower mind. And we are that rainbow bridge from the higher mind to the lower mind. And, but you got to give yourself permission first and stop saving, get out of the soup, let people be wherever they're at, and give yourself permission for this higher frequency vibrations. And of course, it's all very kind of foreboding and dark energies coming up with this Venus and Gemini square Neptune, right? Because it's like the delusions of this Piscean age, and like that energy of like, you know, it's like darkest right before the dawn, right? And before you come into the greater, wider truth of this is a spiritual experience, that's where humanity is. They're like, ooh, this is really dark movie, right? And it's like the whole energy, a lot of the forces of psychological control right now want you to opt out, right? They want you to give up. They want you to opt out. And it's like, no, you know, it's not an option for you souls. And so there's this deep, uncomfortable feeling of that dark, heavy things need to be revealed. And it makes you sick to your stomach. But then once you look at them, you feel free. And this is what we're holding for humanity, right? And it's interesting because it's like, oh, the heavy responsibility. I got to go out there and do something and save people and wake them up, right? And it's like, no, there is a big, heavy responsibility for you, right? You do have a very clear path of who you are and what you're here to do, but it's about lightness. It's about being your cosmic self. It's about allowing finally once and for all to fully step over into the truth of who you are as a spiritual being. And everything, until you're ready to do that, everything is going to like push against you. And that's actually pushing you over the threshold. And that seems to be the energy of these times right now. So we'll see what happens. But know that like what we're doing is we're trying to, it's almost like by receiving for ourselves enough, we have to do that before we can connect with our soul group. But know they're out there and going through exactly what you're going through. And they have so much compassion and love for you and you guys for each other. And it's like just such a new paradigm waiting right there behind the curtains of Oz. And you're here to pull that curtain back by simply embodying your greater, wider truth as the star you are. So hang in there. You're doing great work. We're just really on the edge of who knows what. But at least we're here together. So thanks so much. I'll see you on tomorrow's update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.